Hi there, my name is Joshua Ward. Today we're going to be learning how to cook properly with hot oils. There's a lot of safety tips involved in cooking with hot oil. It's one of the nastiest burns that you can get in the kitchen, and it's also one of the most dangerous things you can do in your home kitchen. So what we're doing today with the oil that we have at the right temperature, we're going to be making what's called churros. It's a Mexican donut. I just have a basic donut recipe, and what we're going to do is we're actually going to pipe the dough into the batter or into the oil. So one of the more dangerous things about when you are working with oil is the consistency of the oil. It pretty much stays the same. So the only indicator that it's too hot is when it does start to smoke. But with canola oil, it does have a pretty low smoke point. So even at higher temperatures, it's not going to start smoking until probably well after 400. What I'm using right now is a digital thermometer to keep track of the temperature of the oil. Any meat thermometer or any type of digital thermometer that you're gonna have at home or anything like that, you can always use. It's a very good idea to keep an eye on the temperature because you don't want it to get too hot. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pipe a little bit into the mixture. I'm going to have a knife because you don't want to dangle this over it too far or dip the actual tip into the oil, because then it's going to just cook everything in there and you're just going to have a big mess. So notice at the right temperature there's not a lot of activity with the actual oil. It's just bubbling slightly. So if it is too hot, it's going to bubble a little bit more when you add something to it. You can just keep flipping it, because if you leave it on one side, it's just going to cook that one side too much. So if you keep flipping it, then it transfers heat to both sides, and then it cooks the inside of the dough as well. So you definitely want to use a slotted spoon or a basket type with the holes so that when you do lift it out, the oil can drain off completely. And you definitely want to let that oil kind of shake off completely, because if you don't, then the moment you touch anything that's coming out of the basket or the spoon, it will burn you. But you always want to keep your skin exposure as limited as possible. So you definitely want to have either a full apron on or even a half apron with some pants, maybe some slippers. You definitely don't want to keep your feet exposed in case something does happen and the oil kind of splatters. So in case you do use a gas burner and a fire does happen to start, you never want to use water or any type of liquid to put that fire out. They actually have special fire extinguishers for oil fires, but the safest bet is to just to smother the fire. So if it's in the pot or anything like that, just always have a lid handy. I do know I've seen at some recycling centers, they have an oil disposer, so you can actually take it to a recycling center. Always use a very airtight container, and always keep it as cold as possible when you're transporting it. And then you can easily just pour it into the grease traps or the grease pits that they have there for disposal. You never want to pour it down your sink because it'll solidify and it'll gunk up your pipes. So once you do pull it out of the oil and it is a good temperature to work with, you want to get in there, and because it's still a little bit moist from the oil. And there's your churro.